the hidden reason why the narcissist never returns your things after the relationship ends. Why do narcissists so often cling to your things as if they're sacred relics of the relationship? Why can't they just return what's yours, close the chapter, and move on? After all, this is someone who lied, betrayed, perhaps even humiliated you, and yet they still won't let go of your possessions. Psychologists describe this as a form of symbolic control, where the narcissist's inability to release your belongings mirrors their inability to release you emotionally. To them, your things are not mere objects. They're psychological anchors, extensions of the power they once held over you. Many survivors of narcissistic abuse recall this phase vividly. The constant excuses, the endless postponing of returning your belongings, or the sudden forgetfulness about what you left behind. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Ramani Durvasula, these gestures are rarely accidental. They're tactics, deliberate strategies to sustain contact and reopen the emotional wounds you're desperately trying to close. When a narcissist texts, "You left some things here," it's not about kindness or closure, it's about control. Psychologists refer to this as the intermittent reinforcement cycle, an addictive push and pull dynamic designed to keep you hooked through unpredictable contact. When they keep your things, what they're really doing is holding you hostage through sentiment. You might notice they never return everything at once. Instead, they release your items piece by piece, like a calculated drip. One day your sweater, the next your charger, then a forgotten keepsake from your drawer. Each release becomes a new excuse to reach out, to draw you back into conversation, to test whether they still have emotional power over you. Psychologists often compare this to trauma bonding, where even minimal contact reignites attachment through the same neurochemical responses that once made you feel connected. For narcissists, this is psychological theater. The act of returning your things becomes a performance of dominance disguised as civility. When you finally confront them, their response is often rehearsed. "I was just trying to help you get your stuff back. Why are you overreacting?" In that moment, they twist the narrative, portraying you as irrational while painting themselves as the reasonable party. This form of gaslighting destabilizes your perception of reality, forcing you to question your own emotions and responses. It's a subtle but devastating way of reminding you that, in their mind, they still control the script. But beneath this manipulation lies a deeper psychological motive: punishment. When you leave a narcissist, especially if you were the one to end it, it shatters their fragile ego. According to psychologist Dr. Craig Malkin, author of Rethinking Narcissism, narcissists experience rejection not as sadness but as humiliation. To protect their brittle self-image, they shift from vulnerability to vengeance. Keeping your belongings becomes an act of psychological retaliation, a way to inflict discomfort while restoring their internal sense of superiority. It's as if they're saying, "You may have walked away, but I still hold something you need." In some extreme cases, this punishment escalates into cruelty. Survivors have shared stories of narcissists threatening to destroy deeply sentimental objects: a photo album, a childhood keepsake, even the urn of a loved one's ashes. Such actions are not random acts of malice but calculated emotional warfare. Psychologists note that narcissists thrive on the emotional reactions they provoke. Your distress reaffirms their relevance. To them, your pain is proof of their power. The more devastated you appear, the more validated they feel. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for recovery. When a narcissist keeps your belongings hostage, they're not simply being petty. They're extending the abuse beyond the relationship's physical end. This is why most therapists advise no contact or minimal contact strategies. Reclaiming your peace may require letting go of what they hold, even if it hurts. As trauma therapist Dr. Shannon Thomas emphasizes, peace of mind is worth far more than possessions held hostage by a manipulator. Sometimes, true closure comes not from retrieving your things but from recognizing that your freedom is no longer negotiable. Healing from this experience involves reclaiming both your autonomy and your narrative. The narcissist may still believe they have control, but your recovery begins the moment you stop participating in their game. Seek support from professionals who understand narcissistic abuse, and surround yourself with people who reaffirm your worth. Over time, as you rebuild your confidence, their power over you fades. and the objects they clung to so tightly lose all meaning. Because in truth, what the narcissist really fears is not losing your belongings. It's losing their access to your emotions. Once you stop responding, they are left alone with what they dread most: the silence that exposes their emptiness. They'll send a photo of the urn, maybe with your name scrawled across a torn piece of paper beside it. Proof that they still hold something that belongs to you, proof that they still have power. It's cruel, it's deliberate, and psychologists often describe this as symbolic possession, a tactic rooted in the narcissist's deep-seated fear of abandonment and loss of control. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, a clinical psychologist known for her work on narcissistic abuse, explains that such acts are rarely about the objects themselves. The narcissist doesn't want your belongings. They want your presence tethered to them, your mind circling endlessly around the anxiety of what they might do next. By keeping or threatening your possessions, they keep you psychologically bound. Still reacting, still watching, still engaged. When a narcissist feels rejected or discarded, they experience what psychologists call a narcissistic injury, a blow to their fragile self-concept that can ignite rage, vindictiveness, and a need to restore dominance. Your belongings become the perfect weapon. They'll dangle something precious: your photos, your keepsakes, your late mother's ashes, because they understand that to you, these things carry meaning. Dr. Carol McBride, author of Will I Ever Be Free of You, notes that narcissists interpret emotional attachment as vulnerability, something to exploit rather than honor. By weaponizing sentimentality, they regain the upper hand. In their mind, every moment you plead or protest confirms one thing: they still have control. For the victim, this form of psychological warfare can be devastating. You're not just grieving the loss of a relationship. You're forced to negotiate with someone who's holding pieces of your past hostage. Trauma experts emphasize that this dynamic can trigger symptoms similar to complex PTSD, because each interaction reopens the wound, forcing you to relive the helplessness, confusion, and humiliation you endured during the relationship. Many victims describe it as being trapped in an emotional purgatory. You want your things back, but every attempt to reclaim them pulls you back into the narcissist's orbit. This is exactly what they want. Psychologists often advise survivors to reframe this struggle, not as a battle over objects, but as a test of freedom. The narcissist wants you to break no contact. They crave that moment of reaction. Every message, every visit, every flash of anger feeds their ego. Dr. Lindsay Gibson, who specializes in emotional immaturity, explains that narcissists thrive on emotional fuel. Positive or negative, it doesn't matter. Silence, therefore, becomes your strongest weapon. By refusing to respond, you starve them of validation. If you must retrieve your belongings, experts suggest delegating the task to a neutral third party, a friend, a relative, or even law enforcement if necessary. It's not about cowardice. It's about protecting your mental space from further violation. Underneath all of this manipulation lies the narcissist's pathological need for control. Their mind runs on hierarchies. They must dominate or be dominated. When you leave them, they lose that control, and keeping your possessions becomes a way to rewrite that loss. It's not the items that matter. It's the narrative. You left, but I still decide when you get your life back. Dr. Craig Malkin, author of Rethinking Narcissism, calls this a desperate assertion of superiority. It's a way to say, I still matter. I still have power. Psychologically, this behavior mirrors a child throwing a tantrum but with adult cunning, except the stakes are your peace of mind. And then, there's the petty side, perhaps the most bitterly ironic of all. Some narcissists simply keep your things out of laziness or entitlement. Why should I go out of my way for you? They rationalize. But even this seemingly trivial behavior carries meaning. Psychologists view it as a continuation of their core disorder, an inability to empathize or respect boundaries. They genuinely see your belongings as theirs now, part of the spoils of emotional war. It's a final act of possession, a way to erase the line between you and them. For the survivor, healing begins not by reclaiming every item, but by reclaiming meaning. What the narcissist can't keep is your growth, your peace, your renewed sense of self. Therapists emphasize that closure doesn't come from retrieving objects. It comes from breaking psychological ties. Let them keep the material remnants if it means you can finally breathe. The real victory isn't getting your things back. It's walking away with your dignity intact, no longer dancing to the rhythm of their control. When you finally realize that your favorite mug, your paintings, or even that small plant you nurtured for years are still sitting in the narcissist's house, it hits you in waves. At first, it's disbelief. How could someone who claims to have moved on still live surrounded by your things? Then comes anger, the sharp kind that burns quietly in the chest. Yet psychologists remind us that this reaction is exactly what the narcissist craves. Dr. Ramani Durvasula often explains that narcissists rarely part with items not because they value the object itself, but because it represents ownership, a psychological residue of you. Keeping your possessions allows them to maintain the illusion that they still have a claim over your life, your memories, your identity. The act is deeply symbolic. You may have walked out the door, but in their mind, a piece of you still belongs to them. This illusion of possession serves a deeper psychological function for the narcissist. It soothes their inner fragility. According to Dr. Sam Vaknin, a researcher on narcissistic personality structures, narcissists are driven by a desperate need to regulate their fractured self-esteem. Losing you, the person who once fed their ego with attention, compliance, or admiration, leaves a gaping void. Keeping your belongings helps them deny the loss. Each object becomes a totem, a silent witness to the control they once held. It's not sentiment, it's denial. The narcissist convinces themselves that as long as they have your things, they have not truly lost you. It's their way of rewriting the story, a narrative where they remain in charge, never abandoned, never powerless. For the victim, this can feel both infuriating and deeply painful. Psychologically, it forces you into a loop of unfinished business. You're caught between wanting closure and knowing that reaching out might reopen the wound. Dr. Judith Orloff, a psychiatrist who specializes in emotional empathy, notes that this is part of the narcissist's trap. They keep you emotionally entangled through unfinished exchanges. The longer you engage, even to retrieve your things, the more you feed their need for attention and dominance. Victims often report feeling torn between reclaiming their belongings and reclaiming their peace. The sad truth is, you often can't have both. This is where self-reflection becomes essential. Psychologists encourage victims to ask the very question you posed. Do I truly need these things back? It's not just a logistical decision, it's an emotional one. Clinical experts say this question forces you to weigh the tangible value of the item against the emotional cost of contact. For example, a family heirloom may justify legal action or police involvement, but a coffee mug, a sweater, or even that set of pots and pans, sometimes letting them go becomes an act of liberation. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in The Body Keeps the Score, reminds us that healing from trauma often involves reclaiming a sense of agency. Walking away, choosing not to engage, is itself a declaration of power. You're no longer reacting to their manipulation. You're deciding for yourself what peace is worth. If the items truly matter, however, psychologists recommend approaching retrieval strategically, not emotionally. Dr. Ramani suggests treating the narcissist like a legal entity, not a former partner. In other words, no pleading, no anger, no emotional openings. Communicate through third parties if possible, and document everything. Take photos before leaving shared spaces. File reports if needed. Every boundary you draw is not just logistical protection, it's psychological reinforcement. You're teaching your nervous system that safety no longer depends on appeasing the narcissist. It comes from self-respect and preparation. And when the narcissist refuses to cooperate, when they mock, stall, or gloat about keeping what's yours, remember that this is not a reflection of your worth. It's a display of their pathology. Psychologists frame this behavior as sadistic entitlement. The narcissist's belief that rules, empathy, and fairness simply don't apply to them. Their defiance is not strength. It's insecurity wearing armor. They will twist even the smallest object into a battlefield because conflict sustains their sense of significance. The best response, as difficult as it feels, is non-engagement. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. When survivors finally stop negotiating with narcissistic terrorists, as you aptly called them, something profound happens. The silence begins to settle like dust after a storm. You start to see that every item they clung to, every photograph, every gift, every trivial thing was never really the loss. What you're reclaiming is far greater: your clarity, your boundaries, your emotional sovereignty. The things they hoard may gather dust on their shelves, but the power they once held over you fades the moment you decide your peace is priceless.